Welcome, everybody, to the second episode of the Grimdark Breakdown. Today, we are going to be doing a little theory crafting. Jason and I are going to be talking about today, what does every army need in 11th edition? Some armies really desperately need a lot of things. Some need one unit. Some are in really, really great spots, and maybe they just need a unit to get a refresh on how it looks or its data sheet or something like that. But we're going to kind of go one by one, and some were really easy. Some we had to reach a little bit, and some they need a ton of stuff. So I fully expect in the comments to get flamed that we forgot this or that, but we tried to keep it to just one per. So
the
with
keyword
that,
there is try.
Yeah, try. Exactly. So we're going to start with GW's least favorite army, the boys in blue, the Ultramarines. If at the time of recording, for anybody seeing this, it's December of 25, the year of chaos. And I think Ultramarines by themselves this year have gotten more models than all the chaos factions. So,
and that's including a brand new army.
Yeah, if you give them a brand new army, I think they're actually okay. But we're going to start with Ultramarines. I have to say, like, I'm actually somebody, I like the way Ultramarines look. I like the Roman aesthetic. I think they look really cool. I think they're a really neat faction. And on that, because they have the biggest range in all of 40K, I really couldn't think of any model they were missing. And sure, we could give them another character, but I actually think what they need is a vehicle upgrade sprue. I think they have one of the cooler aesthetics of all the armies out there. And I think they need a vehicle upgrade sprue so that they can make their tanks and their transports and all that kind of stuff tailored to fit their aesthetics and look. And I think that would be, that's something that's very needed for them. All right, next we're going to talk about Space Wolves. Oof, Space Wolves. I think this one's still me. I have a couple and then we rotate to you, Jason.
That's fine.
So, Viking, these are the guys that definitely like the man buns and are not afraid of a little cold weather. Jason, actually, who did you think I was going to go with initially?
I thought you were going to bring back Leman Russ.
Yeah, I actually picked a different Loyalist Primarch we'll get to a little bit later. I went with Murderfang, one of the bestest boys. It's still a really good looking model. I just think that they could, if they were going to give him some love and do something, he's still on that old little baby dreadnought frame. And so he's just teeny tiny. So
baby boy needs an upgrade.
Yeah, baby boy does need an upgrade. So I went with Murderfang. I think Murderfang would be a great upgrade. It's a character. They do in 11th what they did in this edition. Everybody gets a character. He goes perfectly in line. Dark Angels, the first army I collected, I still think they're one of the prettiest armies out there. I actually think the biggest thing that they're missing is 11th edition. They leaned really, really, really hard into the melee aesthetic. If you ask me what I think is most likely that we're going to get, it's going to be a Raven Wing update. It's not what I want, though. I think the Outriders and the Raven Wing are fine. I'd like our own Stone Guard. I want something that has some actual shooting in addition to some melee. And you could just steal from any of their 30K models that are absolutely gorgeous. You don't even have to reinvent the wheel. All right, I'm going to kick it to my partner in crime, Mr. Jason.
Blood Angels. I love them. Not a big fan of World Eaters. I mean, I like the play style, but I do love their army look. But the thing they need, some Terminators. I mean, just the image. I mean, imagine those things coming down onto the board. They're known for them, but they just don't have them. And they're beautiful. I mean, they're absolutely stunning models if they were just to create them. Just create them as the Warhammer community image shows. Those are amazing, and I think that's something that they need. It provides them a little bit more threat, and it gives them something that's a little bit tougher to go along with some of their other tough things they do have.
I just realized as you were talking, the first Space Hulk game, which is kind of like one of the iconic Warhammer things, was Blood Angel Terminators versus Gene Stealers. It's just crazy we don't have Blood Angel Terminators.
And I'm going to give the commenters a reason to flame me. The only Warhammer game I've ever played on PC was Space Marine 2.
Well, they're really going to flame you because Space Hulk was a board game.
Yep. Ultra Flame coming.
All right, Black Templar. So, I think Black Templar, they were actually, I toiled between Black Templars and Dark Angels when I first picked up the hobby like 15 years ago. I thought they were awesome. They just looked really, really cool. Here's my spicy take. I think Rogel Dorn should come back. I know, technically he's the Primarch of the Imperial Fist, but the Black Templar are a successor chapter. They're just a spinoff. And if you ask me, the Imperial Fist of, they just don't have any love, honestly, from GW. They've gotten like 2 models in the last, I don't know how many years. So I think that them shifting, and if they brought him back, and they brought back a one-handed version with his giant chainsword or with a kick-ass power sword, and he had an Imperial Fist pauldron on one side and a Templar pauldron on the other side, and he was like battle hardened because he's just been fighting orcs for the last 9,000 years, that would be awesome.
Could I ask just a joking question here? So would you bring him back as you said a Primarch?
Yeah, he was the Primarch of the Imperial Fist.
Just let both groups share him. I mean, Space Marines share everything else.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, could be. All right, Grey Knights. Man, Grey Knights is like maybe the most layup 1 and 2 answer. Super cool army, super cool aesthetic. Here's the first thing they need. I can't believe that when their codex came out, Caldor Drago, which is their chapter master, they pulled out of the codex. That was really weird to me, that like the head of their order they pulled out. Now, I understand it was a super old Finecast model and all that, but like that's just a little wild to me. The second layup answer is that they need their range redone in Primaris scale, because it's real dated. All right, Jace, back to you, my good sir.
So, Custodes, the boys in gold. I mean, this is a softball answer. Tell me what list out there is truly effective without one of these 2 models here that is not in resin or in fine cast, whatever they've printed it in. It needs to be in plastic. Could I have said something more like give some of their infantry the grenade keyword? Could I have said the Sister of Silence could use improvements, new models, a refresh, survivability, and usefulness? I could have went there, but I went with a softball because, I mean, the Custodes, when that tank hits, it hits hard. But why isn't it in plastic already? That baffles me. Same with the dreadnoughts. Why aren't they in plastic?
Yeah. Yep. I was really shocked we didn't get that this edition. So right now, the time of recording, AdMech is the hands down, bar none, strongest army in the game. So whenever you say you're giving the strongest army in the game something, people seem to get, but keep in mind, for the other 3 years of this edition, they've been like at the very, very bottom of the edition, of the army rankings. So here's my thing. This model that they came out with for 30K is one of the coolest damn models GW has ever. I looked through, I'm not an AdMech player, but I looked through, they didn't seem to have really any solid artillery unit. And so to me, make this an artillery or an anti-tank unit. And you know what? They have some other units that are Sigmar that cross-pollinate or whatever else. I don't think you'd have an angry AdMech player anywhere if they just said, hey, you can field this in 40K and it does X, because it is a beautiful model and it looks, I've seen one on the table before at a Horus Heresy tournament and they look awesome on the tabletop. So that's my pick.
So you're not an AdMech player, but you've played me with AdMech with that Scutari nonsense.
Yeah, I played them for like one friend tournament because I wanted to understand more what they did. So I think I played maybe 10 games as AdMech so I could just know how they play.
You did buy a fair amount of their models, though.
Yeah, it's just because I have a problem.
Don't we all?
All right, Guard. Man, so Guard was honestly a little bit of a hard one. Guard has a awesome range. They have so many cool models. Whenever I'm like showcasing like what Warhammer is to people, Guard is one of the armies I show them because I just think they have such a cool range. But one of the ranges that I think that like is criminally underserved is the Cachetans. So, you've got this Kit Bash model, which I'm going to put in the comment, the Instagram artist that made this with the Mr. T in the background. And like, I mean, these are just, man, Like, this is a Cachatan jungle fighter to me.
He's out there pitying fools.
Exactly. He's pitying these fools. Like, look at these fools. I mean, this is embarrassing. And they're used a lot. They're ugly as sin. And, guard players think that they're skirmishers. When you ask any other army, it's terrible. So I think that they not only need updated, but I think the Cachatan line needs a little bit flushed out. In a perfect world, they could maybe get a little data sheet love as well. If these guys are supposed to be the jungle fighters and they're supposed to be, Rambo running out there in the jungle, make their melee a little bit more imposing. They could die by the droves. That's fine. That's kind of guards them up in their thing, but like, make them hit a little harder.
And looking at like the guy at the bottom of that picture in the middle and the guy on the top row next to the right, whoever designed these was playing some hardcore Duke Nukem of the time period, because that's exactly what they look like.
They're just super old, man. They're just super duper duper.
Like us.
Well, shifting gears from an okay army to the best army in the game. Not at all biased. Sisters of Battle, the Adeptus Sororitas, the bestest ladies and the nuns with the guns. So sisters don't have a huge range, but I believe we have a pretty well-rounded range for what we can do. So I could kind of have picked like a layup answer of saying like, give me a heavy battle tank, which I do think it would be great if sisters got a heavy battle tank. But I also think that it would be hard to point cost it because we're so dangerous at close range that I think the actual more MO would be give us a lone op. The Demofuge is the only lone op we have, and she's a deep striker, and she kind of feels a different role than to go just do mission play. Give us a lone op. I found this art that somebody made of a character they were creating called the Widow, or whatever it may be, but like give us a lone op character that can run out there. We could put on a point, that can do a mission play, area denial, whatever it is, and force people to have to come into our Melta and Flamer range. That's in my opinion what sisters really, and more consistent miracle dice, but we're not going to get on that soapbox.
Oh no. No, don't say that. Them things have messed me over so many times I can't even count.
All right. Hashtag not a real army. This one's all you, killer.
Agents of the Imperium. Man, how I hate personal opinions aside. This is their range. Calidus Assassin there on the bucket. My personal feelings. You made an army that relies on models from other people's armies. If you weren't ready to roll this out, you shouldn't have rolled it out. To me. Now, in the comments, y'all can go against me on this, but my feelings of it is they created a $60 book because everybody was taking the Calidus Assassin. That's my take on it.
I don't think that's a hot take either.
But like, we know GW can be money hungry. I mean, Dark Imperium would have been 10 times a better army than what this is. Because literally, that could potentially be somebody's Warhammer room, and they're going to decorate it with Agents of the Imperium. Congratulations, there's your one model.
So funny story, Jace. I was at the Warhammer store about 3 weeks ago, and like every Warhammer player, when you hear someone go, "I'm looking at picking up Warhammer," they're talking to the clerk. You're like, "Don't talk to that pleb. Come talk to me. I've been playing this game a long time," and you want to tell him all the things. So he came over and I was like, "What army are you looking at?" And he goes, "Agents of the Imperium. Can't make this up." And I went, "Don't do that to yourself. They're not a real army." I was like, "You're going to have to buy Grey Knights, Sisters, Space Marine." I was like, "You're going to have to basically have, you're a Frankenstein monster."
Pretty much. I mean, it patches.
Yeah. All right. This one's you as well.
Imperial Knights. I mean, where do you go? Where do you go wrong with the big Kool-Aid man himself? I mean, look at those models. They are gorgeous. They're gorgeous. But we're used to seeing only big knights. They need something that has some speed, that can do some secondaries, allowing you not to have to shove your big models and stat check people with Canis Rex and all these other walker type units you have. They need something to screen with. They need something to score points that's fast. And I don't care if it's a steampunk type horse. I don't care if the next big army they come out with is Dark Imperium that has all that. And
you
they
keep
can
saying Dark Imperium. Do you mean Dark Mechanicum?
Dark Mechanicum. God,
Okay.
I'm an idiot.
I'm just
But
curious.
It's been a long day. You know, things happen, but with them, they need something like that. They could even borrow, I think, from the AdMech. I mean, the tech priest could make them something or whatever. I mean, there's a whole way they could go about it, but that's
You
just
want a
my
fast moving scoring piece for it.
yes.
Got it.
Allow the
Okay.
big things to do what the big things do.
All right. Moving on to the Chaos Space Marines, the Lords of Trim. I actually think this is a super duper cool army. You know, when I'm a homer, so when I started, like, the thought of playing a quote unquote bad guy, I would have never imagined it until I started like playing 40K and I realized everybody's pretty much a bad guy. Except the orcs. And, you know, they're an absolutely beautiful army. I think they have really cool stuff. This is going to be my second spicy one. I think they need a Primarch. So all four of we'll call it like god aligned factions for chaos have a Primarch. They have a huge Primarch, right? And Abaddon's doing his best job trying to be a loyal servant of the chaos gods. But Lothar is the guy that started the entire Horus heresy. He's the first one to fall to chaos. So to me, him coming back would be perfect because he was never known for being a shooter or a fighter or anything like that. And so I could see him filling a role similar to like a Gilliman, where he is just buffing the entire army and making everything they do significantly better. And I think that would really change the way their entire army plays. I think it'd be really cool. Oh, I smell something.
Oh yeah, it's my stinky boys. So, Death Guard. We're doing all right. I mean, we were doing better, but we're doing all right. There's a whole host of things I could go down. But the one thing that I've kind of stuck on is we need some kind of up-down unit that can point score for us outside of detachments that allow you to up down a unit. Like, we need something that is a scoring piece that can come on the board and go off the board. You know, there are, and what I don't get is and this might be my lore light self with this take, but how do you fall to chaos as a Marine? And all the jump pack people like, you know what, we're good. We're not going to do that. We're not going down that road. You know, we could use more demon engines besides the 3 that we have. Well, 2 that we have. The third is basically like 2 different kits, but maybe adjustments to our Hellberg. There's a lot of different things that can happen.
Pick one, Jason.
All right, the up down. I won't get off on a tangent.
I think you already went down that road.
Well, the road's been gone down now, and
all right.
no
So you think
back.
they need some up down versatility?
Yeah.
All right, I can dig it. T-Sons, Thousand Sons. You know, it's funny. When we made the last video, we thought they were very difficult, and a lot of people in the comments actually didn't think they were difficult. So apparently we're just dumb, which is very, very accurate, probably.
It would fit the Southern stereotype, though, that normally
the Southern boys don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, I could get on board with that. Man, T-Sons are cool. And the cool thing about T-Sons, I've always thought they were pretty range, and I think a lot of people did. And then they played Space Marine 2, and they were like, oh, those guys are neat. I mean, they just look freaking cool. One of the things, they're another range that just never got that second wave like they were supposed to. And they don't really have big, tough stuff outside of Magnus and the Vortex Mutilith Beast, is I think how you say it. And so, to me, the easy fix for it, as I was kind of scrolling around, is I saw the 30K dreadnoughts that the T-Sons had. Those things are awesome. So in kind of we'll call it like a Hellbrute / dreadnought hybrid that I think could fill the void of giving them a 9 or 10 toughness model that could be maybe melee or shooting. You could kind of quote unquote pick. Man, I think you give them these and you kind of fill that void of giving them another tougher unit that they could use to push up and bully a little bit. Your words, not mine. All right. World Eaters, the Eaters of World. These are my other bestest boys. So I love the Eaters of World. I think they are the more you learn about them, you learn that they're a tragic story of how they became a faction and how they descended and everything and how all that worked. To me, the easiest thing is Red Butchers. So here's the tiny piece of lore I'll give you guys about Red Butchers. Red Butchers was like a paragraph in a book. And then in the Karn the Betrayer novel, they got another tiny little insert. There's no giant novel or pieces about Red Butchers to talk about them in great detail. I can hear all your clicking.
My bad. I'm sorry.
So there's no giant piece that just talks about their lore. What it is they just gave an insert, and the insert where they talk about these guys was so freaking cool, especially to World Eater players, that they made a 30K version of these guys, which does exist, and people have been begging for them in 40K. I mean, literally, this is someone that descended into the nails. So they said, this person's too crazy and they don't listen to orders. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put them inside a Cataphracti Terminator army. We're going to chain them up and forget about them and just let them like become even more insane until we have a battle. And then we're going to drop them dead middle of the battle and just let them rage and kill everything in sight until either they die or we win the battle, at which time we'll either kill them ourselves or we'll recapture them to use at a later date. Like, what? That is awesome. That is the most world eater stuff you could imagine.
Sounds about right.
All right. The demons.
So,
Chaos demons.
before I get accused going off on a tangent, I technically have two things. One thing is painfully obvious. The other thing is not so painfully obvious unless you are a dedicated player of this army. One, they have all of the demons, all of them as one. You got Bellicor, you got the Great Unclean One, you got Rodigus, you got all these cool models. But they have a couple of models, and there's 4 primarily, but I only picked 2 of them to be the ones that need to be redone. That's Epidemus and the Blue Scribes. These are fine cast models. They're not in plastic. If they're going to stay in the range, they need to be redone. The second thing is give them a codex. People still play them.
Yeah.
We need to stop with we want to take them out and we're going to phase them out instead of saying, hey, we understand that you've devoted into this army, but by devoting into this army, you can now roll them into a good start for T-Sons or Death Guard or World Eaters. Don't make the other Chaos factions only have one detachment to use these models. Allow them to be used and just rip the Band-Aid with Chaos Demons if you're truly wanting to get rid of them, because they're not going to get any new rules per GW. So I know that's going to hurt a lot of Chaos Demon players, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think it's cool that, in my personal opinion, what they need to do is the Bellicor detachment should roll into Chaos Space Marines. And then, to your point, like, make it to where, here's the easy thing, because you got to think, of the 4 Chaos Legions, Death Guard is the only one that has a even mildly decent range, and it's not big, it's just decent. The other 3 are tiny.
Yep.
You give them all of their demons, you tell them every detachment can take 500 points or something, all of a sudden now they have significantly more models at their disposal.
And just as a side note, before we get into our next one, you notice, guys and gals, there's a theme that we're coming across here. And it's, we're going to create this army, and then we're not going to do anything with it for a year or 2. And then we're going to do something with it as soon as people start complaining. Then we're not going to do anything with it for a while. It's like, complete the project and then move on to the next one.
Yeah. I think the sad fact is that because they're just like us, they suffer from the same ADD that we do. All right, this one's you too.
Chaos Knights. I love me some Chaos Knights. They were the most fun painting that I have done. I love their models. I like the chaos theme to their units. The Dark Mechanicum. Did I get that right this time?
You got it right.
Awesome. They could use a couple things. They could use a fast skirmish unit, but Cultist. Chaos Cultist were taken from Death Guard. Give Chaos Cultists to these guys to let them screen out people rushing down these war dogs and these brigands and these stalkers. I mean, if you're rushing down a carnivore, you better be coming correct, because it's going to swing back and it's going to hurt. Give them something to allow them to screen. It don't have to be heavily pointed either. Like 60 to 80 points, somewhere around in there, just to act as a screen, just enough to let the war dogs get into the game potentially without, falling victim to, hey, make big things stand on points. We charge big things. We take big things out.
No disagreement here. All right, Eldari. Man, I think Eldari are really, really cool. I think that it's crazy how old a lot of their models actually are, but they hold up so well and they look really well. The biggest thing I think Eldari need is, how'd that get here? They need to be nerfed.
Pew, 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 pew.
Yeah. Like if you said what's been the strongest army of the entire edition, it's been Eldari. For the, at the beginning of the edition, they were cracked. Then they went away for a little bit. Then they came back. They've never been at the bottom of the ring, really. Jokes aside, though, I actually think that they need a stealthy, lone op-esque character, kind of similar to Sisters. Their shooting is incredible. They have solid melee. They've got great vehicles and transports. They have Titans, for Christ's sake, if they want to use them. So, I mean, they have so many things. I just think giving them like a stealthy, model, or, a model that has lone op or up down, a model that has like some good keywords that give them the ability to try to like score and push tempo. I think would be a great model. Drakari, man, weird looking range, but cool looking range. I've played them a couple times. Being honest, maybe this is just the dumb Southerner in me. I still don't know what the hell they do. I know they have pain tokens and everything does more damage than they're supposed to. And they've got this one female model, one lady. I call her Angry Lady. She gets like 30 attacks or something insane with all of her sustained hits and stuff. The aesthetic of them is pretty cool. They seem like a cool range. I've never once fought a Drakari player that had a gun line. And so to me, since these are just deranged elves, like give them a gun line unit that has good, respectable shooting. It can be anti-tank or I feel like they have a ton of anti-infantry. So an anti-tank gunline shooter, I think could be pretty good for them. But I'm not super educated on Drakari, so if we missed the boat completely, drop a note below and let everybody know what Drakari actually needs. GSC. I play GSC a lot. GSC is very popular in my area. They're a freaking cool army. If I wanted a second job, I'd pick up Gene Stealer Cult. I just don't want to paint like 150 models for 1,000 points, man. But gosh darn, are they awesome. Like if somebody was like, hey, will you just paint a couple of my Gene Stealer Cult characters? I'd be like, I got you. That sounds awesome. If they were like, can you paint my 2,000 point army? You don't got enough money, brother. Like that dog.
This is an army that if you pick up and you've got friends into the hobby that like to paint, each of you take 500 points. It'll take you about a year to paint it. But each of you
That's gonna take a year, you jackwagon.
If I'm painting it, it does. But 6 months to paint nicely, the cult, and everybody's contributed. So you got a friend army.
Yeah, there you go. Here's the thing. Every time I've fought Gene Stealer Cult, every single time they have struggled to crack armor. Anytime you've got armor that's T10 or above, I've seen them struggle. The last tournament that I played was when Canis Rex was cracked and everybody was running Canis, and literally it felt like the Gene Stealer player I was fighting was using harsh language against him, basically. So I would love to see, I found these two, one's a Warhammer community piece, the other one's just a conversion. I'd love to see them get like a model like Sisters Retributors or the Eradicators or Fire Dragons. Like give them something that's 5 units that all have like, strength 9 or, twin linked, mining lasers that are D6 damage as an example. Like give them something that can really punch into some armor. I think that's something that they're missing.
They're going to be made of paper and come back anyway. So
yeah, exactly. All right. Time for the cockroaches.
The bugs. Makes me think of Starship Troopers every time with the Tyranids. But the Tyranids, they're the cockroaches of the future world. They have beautiful models. So it's really hard to say what they need as a new sculpt or in army rules when I'm not that familiar, even though their subterranean assault's doing good. But the model I chose to be redone is the Hive Tyrant. It's a 5th edition model, hasn't been redone since. And don't get me wrong, it is a good looking model. But look at some of the models they've come out with recently with the kill teams. I mean, those are great looking models. So taking this and giving it some love could go a long way. Not saying you couldn't use the old, but who doesn't like new?
Yeah, I think the cool thing about this too is because this is a dual. I don't know this, so correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is a dual kit. So I think if you update the Hive Tyrant, you're also getting the Hive Tyrant with wings. So
Yep.
you would be updating both of them, and so you'd be getting kind of the 2-for-1 special.
Who doesn't like a 2-for-1?
Mm-hmm. This one's you killer.
Necrons. I actually love the aesthetic of Necrons. I love them. Like, just something about that Tesseract glow on steel with the OSL when they're painted up beautifully. Like, you can't beat it. It's
I'm
hard to
surprised you
beat.
haven't ever played Necrons. They feel like I feel like they would be your playstyle too.
Complete sidebar to Necrons. So we're going to put Necrons on hold here. I thought about it. Like, I've seriously thought about it. Like saying, forget Votann. Let's steer towards the Necron instead of the Votann. But I mean, I like me some space dwarves too. But I don't know. I changed my mind a lot. So, and I still haven't even collected all 2,000 points for Death Guard. So we'll see. But what I see, back on task, is Necrons need some kind of anti-tank that's good outside of the Doomsday arc. Every time that I've played a Necron player, and it could just be their ideas into the game, their play style, their experience, I crash in my Death Shroud behind it. I charge it. I obliterate it. Now I'm not worried about that thing blasting anything off the board. They need some kind of small tank or some kind of roller like a droidica from Star Wars, a Meltalon, something like that to punch through armor outside of the Doomsday. And they might have something. So drop it in the comments and I can be completely wrong. It's not my main army, but I think something like that would help them, especially reanimation protocol, and bring them things back and they're a constant threat. That would be nasty. And everybody hates playing Necrons anyways.
Yeah,
Not
I gotta
hates
agree with
playing,
you. Like,
but playing against.
I don't think they need tough stuff because Lord knows they've got tough stuff. I agree. I think punching into anti-tank outside the Doomsday arc, they just don't have a whole lot of really good options.
Wow. Oh, man. The Orks. Where do we go with the Orks? I mean, I love the whole idea of speed freaks. Like, I wish they would create a million things that looked like Dune for these guys. I really do. Like, they're cool. I like how each of them are a little bit different. They're a little bit zany from one to the other. Their vehicles looks like you went to a scrapyard and you got what you could and you had very little experience with welding and you did the best you could. The one model I did choose to be redone is the Weird Boy. Now, they have a very large range.
Yeah, they do.
I went to Warhammer Worlds, as I mentioned in the last video, and one of my buddies that plays Orcs went with us, and I turned to him when we get to an Orc player, and he's got Gretchen on the table, and I swear the Orcs Gretchens were about the size of a dice you would roll in your tray.
Yep. They're tiny.
So, I mean, maybe redo the Gretchen and make them just a tiny bit bigger. Like, I would hate having to paint those. And I've painted so many Poxwalkers that I don't even want to look at another one. But those Gretchen are tiny. But this Weird Boy, he looks cool, but I think he could be better.
Yeah. I mean, my answer would have been they need a new army rule. But, if we're talking just purely models, I agree. Like the Weird Boy is a cool model, but you can see how old this thing is. It was a banger when it came out, but it's just aged, It's just aged.
Some age like a fine wine, some don't. Votann, the Space Dwarves. I've loved what GW has done recently with them. They are a newer army. Believe they did come out in wasn't ninth? I think
Correct.
It was, yeah. They've actually shown them a lot of love recently with their new character models, with the Iron Jacks they came out with. They're great. But the Iron Jacks are a step in the right direction for me. with their aesthetic, if they had some kind of dwarven dreadnought, it would be amazing. Where, like, you can open the door on him and the dwarf can jump out. He's not tied to it like everyone else is to their dreadnought. Like, these guys, it could be made of metal, it could be made of whatever. Something that gives them something else that's tough on the board besides the Sagittar and the Hecaton Land Fortress. The bikes are easily blown off the board. They need something else that's chunky out there that could lay down some thunder, no pun intended, or pun intended. Take it as you will. So I think the Dreadnought would work.
All right. I can dig it. I can dig it. All right. The greater good, the Tau. The Tau are really cool, man. I think that they've got such a cool aesthetic. You know, the Gundam look, the Japanese influences. Like they're really cool, really, really cool army. One of the first combat patrols I ever bought was a Tau combat patrol. It's either an 8th or 9th edition. It was the first time I tried to paint an army white. Woo, didn't know what I was getting in for. So I think Tau need a skirmishing unit that can stand on points. So we all know Tau doesn't need shooting help. And they don't need horde help because they've got the crews. I don't think it would be appropriate to just straight up give them melee units. But what I'm getting at is, like, to me, these guys could be similar to, like, almost like Reavers for Space Marines or Incursors or something. Give them their Tau, so they got to have shooting. But, like, give them like 24-inch guns that aren't anything impressive. But give them like combat phasers or something. Give them like 3 attacks, you know, hitting on 3s, strength 5 -1 or something. Like, give them like a decent enough melee, or make a battle line unit that has 2 health. Like, they need something that can reliably stand on a point, because it's just something that they're lacking right now.
I can dig it. I can dig it.
The sexy boys, the Emperor's children. So again, to kind of to Jason's point of, like, Games Workshop gets ADD and they kind of like make a faction, and then we're going to give it a second wave, and then Thousand Sons and World Eaters are still waiting years later. They're really cool. They're a beautiful faction. I don't know how, when they were under the Chaos Space Marines, they had Sonic Dreadnoughts. They got their own codex that has, like, I think it's got like 11 data sheets, which is insane. And they didn't get the Sonic Dreadnought back. The fact that every Emperor's Children is spamming 3 winged demon princes, because it's the only thing that they have that's got like anti-tank punch, really. And it's the only thing they have of any toughness. Give them their Sonic Dreadnoughts back. It's anti-tank, it's tough, checks all the boxes. So that's mine.
And I mean, you better be playing some jazz music when you got them noise marines going.
So last but certainly not least, or maybe because we almost forgot them, we forgot them in the first episode, and we might have almost forgotten them again in the second episode.
And we put them last just in case the people that said before that we didn't touch on them, we are.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's the Deathwatch, because the comments let us know that, hey, we should have done this. So here they are, the boys in black. They are a pretty army. I love their hieroglyphics they have on their shields, on their pauldrons. I love the look. I love the aesthetic. It looks great. Them in Black Templar, like, the black armor just is amazing. But the one thing they lack is their own jump pack units. Not the common shareable one, but their own army's jump pack units, their own, like, sub-faction, if you will, jump pack units. They need that. And that would be something that would probably fly off the shelves for, and I joke when I say this, I do, the 50 Deathwatch players worldwide. It would fly off the shelves. And I say that jokingly. I know there's more, but, like, it's like,
I think it's on brand though. I mean, they're always like 5 dudes against an entire planet worth of stuff. So jump pack dudes flying out of the sky to, like, just start ripping and tearing through, you know, the worst of the galaxy has, like, that seems on brand. Well, all right. We have gone through just about everybody and what we believe they need in 11th edition. So if we missed somebody, let us know. If we missed a model that you can think of or a unit type, let us know. Drop a like for the Emperor and let us know if there's anything you guys would like to see next.